Hi, everybody. Welcome to Right to the Top. I'm Adam. In today's video, we're going to start our second stream of courses. In the last video, I spoke about vocabulary building. Today, we're going to look at grammar and syntax. Now, I know that a lot of you have been studying grammar for a long time. Whether you're a native speaker or a non-English user, grammar has been part of your experience in high school, junior high school, etc. But in this course, I don't want to necessarily look at tiny little rules and tools of grammar. I want to look at grammar as it's used to control syntax. That's our main aim for this course. So let's start with the first obvious question. What is syntax? So a lot of people don't realize that syntax is the overarching use of grammar. It is the arrangement of words, clauses, and phrases in a sentence in a way that delivers a clear message. Okay, very straightforward. It seems a little bit obvious. That's what a sentence is. You have to make sure everything is in the right place. But a lot of that arrangement comes with the ability to manipulate the grammar tools. So we're going to look at this in terms of how everything in a sentence connects to everything else. Where you put your clause, where you put your phrase, where you put your verb, what verb you use. Everything has to do with everything else. Same goes for punctuation. And of course, your sentence has to somehow connect to the sentence that came before. It somehow has to connect to the sentence that comes after. Okay, so that's what syntax is. It's all of these arrangements, and we're going to look at all the different components individually. So we're going to look at grammar as it's used to control syntax. Okay, so we're going to start with the essential components of a sentence, right? What has to be in a sentence, what can be moved around, etc. So we're going to look at all these different parts of the sentence, the essential components. We're going to start with vocabulary and parts of speech. So of course, as I said before, vocabulary is the first step in learning or improving your writing. Grammar and syntax is the second step. But vocabulary and parts of speech basically means your word choice, the forms you use, whether you're using adjectives or nouns or verbs. Again, a lot of words will give you options. You can use one word one way to have a certain effect. You can use it in a different form to have a different effect. For example, verbs are always going to be stronger than nouns. So if you have the choice between a verb and a noun, most times you will go for the verb. But again, not always. It depends what you want to achieve. And of course, position and placement. Where you put the words allows you to control how many words you need, what words will come after, what words came before, etc. So that's vocabulary. The next most important part, because there is no sentence without this, clauses. You need to know all the different types of clauses. Independent clause, subordinate clauses, noun clause, adjective clause, adverb clause, complement clauses, embedded clauses, so clauses inside other clauses. So we're going to look at all of these. And of course, we have to first understand what makes a clause. A clause must have a subject, which can be in different forms, and it must have a predicate, which can come in different forms. And that's going to be our next lesson. Our first start to look at grammar will be the clauses. Following that, we have phrases. So phrases don't have subjects or tense verbs, so they're not clauses. They're always part of something. They're always connected to something. So they are complements to other elements in the sentence. They complete other parts, verbs, subjects, objects, whole entire clauses, etc. And of course, lastly, we have punctuation. Punctuation is used to arrange elements in a workable order. So we can end a sentence with a period. We can separate clauses or phrases with commas. We can designate an inquiry, like we're showing that it's a question with a question mark, exclamation mark, etc. All the different punctuation pieces have a function in the sentence and can help control the sentence, the syntax, the meaning, etc. Now, of course, it's important to understand why do we need to focus on syntax? Why am I making syntax the main focus of this particular course? Well, syntax allows you to do several things, or having control of syntax allows you to do several things. It allows you to control and focus the message in terms of the 3 C's. I mentioned the 3 C's: be clear, be concise, be correct. So syntax allows you to do that. And again, I'm going to talk about the 3 C's in the next videos in more detail. But the most important element of the 3 C's, the clarity, inside it has the idea of cohesion, making sure ideas connect to each other. And that is all about syntax. And as you'll see, I'll give you some examples in a minute. Syntax allows you to establish tone, pace, flow, means you can control the speed, the emotional element, the formality or casualness of it, etc. It lets you add style and variety to make your writing more interesting and more absorbable by your reader, and allows you to also write different ways for different readers and different purposes. And one of the most important things it does is allows you to control the reader's interaction with the text. Now, what does that mean? Basically, do you want the reader to understand exactly a specific message, or do you want to give your reader some freedom to interpret things? So one reader will understand it this way, another reader might understand it a little bit differently. That's also part of syntax. Do you want to have that element of freedom or not? Do you want them to read between the lines, or do you want to spoon feed them all the ideas that you think are important? So syntax allows you to do all that. Okay, so now to understand all of this, I'm going to give you some examples to make it a bit more concrete, as it were. There's more than one way to skin a cat. This is an idiom, meaning there's more than one way to do something. So look at some of these sentences. Despite his reading disability, Jack managed to complete his degree studies and get on the dean's honor roll. A couple of other examples. Jack did not let his reading disability keep him from earning his degree and getting on the dean's honor roll. Not only did Jack graduate, etc. 3 different sentences, all essentially saying the same thing, but in different ways. Which way I'm going to use depends on the purpose of the writing, what I want you to feel, how I want you to react, etc. Let me give you a couple more examples. Only 12 people from the office showed up to the meeting. Merely a dozen staffers attended the meeting. The meeting attracted just a dozen members, and so on and so forth. So I have different examples. Again, all sentences saying the same thing. Different word choices, different arrangements, structures, different emphases, etc. Why? Depends what I'm trying to write, who I'm writing to, the structure, the form of the writing itself. But here's a more concrete. I want to give you a bit more of a bigger picture example. Now more than ever, young people perceive higher education as the only sure means to a successful career in professional fields. This is despite the growing number of thriving startups led by entrepreneurs who either did not complete or entirely avoided the college path. 2 sentences, 44 words. Despite growing evidence that successful businesses can be led by non-college educated business people, today's youth increasingly consider post-secondary studies as a sole path to professional growth. 1 sentence, 25 words, basically the same meaning. Why would I choose the first sentence, first example? Why would I choose the second one? Notice that in the first example, I end this idea with entrepreneurs, with the people who didn't go to college but have successful businesses. In the second example, I ended with the young people and their views about college. Why I made this choice, or why I would choose to arrange the sentence in this or that way, depends on what I'm going to speak about next. In the first example, I ended with an emphasis on entrepreneurs. My next sentence will be about those entrepreneurs. For example, Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg, for instance, built 2 of the world's biggest companies, and so on. In the second example, I ended with the youth. So my next sentence, as a result, those young people who are thinking about going to college, spend billions on private education and guidance in order to secure admission to whatever schools they want to go to. What I want to focus on is what I will put at the end, or the beginning, or any other sort of arrangement you need, depending on what came before, what comes after. But then look at the last example. Today's youth believe they must graduate college to find a good job, even though many successful companies are run by people without degrees. I made this a shorter sentence, much simpler choice of words, simpler structure. This sentence I can follow either way. I can talk about the entrepreneurs, I can talk about the youth. Why? Because the sentence is so balanced and so monotone throughout that I can just focus on the contrast here, not the particular details. In the first two examples, I end by focusing something with an emphasis. Here, I don't emphasize anything. It's just contrast to give an idea. I can follow it up either way. Okay? So all of this, again, comes down to syntax, where I put things, how I arrange them, the word choices, punctuation, and so on and so forth. Okay? So this is where we're going to start. We're going to start looking at all the different pieces of a sentence. That way we can later control them by changing the arrangements and putting emphases when we need to, adding style where we need to, and all sorts of other things. So we're going to learn grammar with the aim of controlling syntax. So in the next video, we're going to start with clause types and components. Independent clauses, dependent clauses, subject types, and subject and predicate types. I won't get too deep into all the different clause types. I'll have separate videos for each of those, but we're going to start with subject types and predicate types to get us started with the independent clause. Okay? I'll see you then, and in the next video after today is going to be the writing video. So make sure you come back for that. I'm going to start that new course stream. See you then. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and like the video if you liked it, and come back again. See you then. Bye-bye.